best player to play with Chesterfield, the most ability, it would have to be Kevin Arnott when I first arrived there. He was absolutely a great professional. A lad who was coming to the end of his career actually, and always remember him. You just give him the ball and he did a rest. He was quality on the ball and he just made things look easy, even on the Saltergate pitch that we had at the time. Kevin was about 34 and I was about 18, and he was a big inspiration for me, and he helped me as well. So I'm always delighted that I played with a player of his quality. Another one that came very, very close was Stuart Cash. I don't think he played a lot of games for Chesterfield, but his ability was absolutely brilliant. And I recently watched the Liverpool game, and Stuart Cash was just outstanding in that game. Absolutely brilliant. Biggest joker, that would definitely have to be me or Sean Dyche. It was a close call. I always remember I used to know how to shut Sean Dyche up, but I won't say it on here. But I used to always know how to shut him up. But me and him were just the life and soul of the dressing room. We're the biggest jokers. I mean, I used to do impressions of everybody. And when we were sitting in the changing room, waiting for people, waiting to start training or anything, I used to always look at people. And people would look at me and go, oh no, Tony Brien's looking at me. He's going to do an impression of me at the Christmas do, which was probably true, if I'm being totally honest about it. Some of my impressions were of Lee Rogers. Oh, I don't really like, I come from Doncaster like, and I don't really know what I'm doing like, you know what I mean? And then there was Chris Marples. Chris Marples, I could always do an impression of him because Jed was a close friend of mine, and he was, I know what to do in the nose, I know what to do in the nose. It was broad Chesterfield. Very, very, very good lad. But yeah, the joker in the dressing room, I'd have to say, was always me, because I just did impressions of everybody. Chris McMenemy, Paul Lemon. You just used to have to look at Paul Lemon, and all he did was smile like that. And when Paul Lemon smiled, he was an infectious character, Paul Lemon, and he was absolutely brilliant. Just to look at him, you just couldn't help but laugh. In a Royal Rumble, I would have to pick probably Darren Carr or Mick Kennedy. Darren Carr was a very, very, very quiet man. Lovely lad. Helped me a lot, played with him a lot. Not as much because he probably took my place in the end at Chesterfield. But Darren was a great character, but he was one that he didn't mess with. As for Mick Kennedy, bless him, he passed away not so long ago. But Mick Kennedy was just a frightening man. He didn't give two hoots about anything or anybody who said anything to him. He was fearless, and the way he used to tackle was second to none really. And what a brilliant character to have in the dressing room as well. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Best dancer, I'd have to say Paul Lemon. He thought he was either a bus driver or a train driver. He used to just dance like this around. Every time we ever used to go out, he used to dance like this, like a bus driver. And then his train driver dance was choo choo, dum dum dum, choo choo, dum dum dum. Jack, like I say, I mentioned him before, he was just such a character and a very, very, very good player as well. But yeah, he used to fancy himself as a dancer. Changing room DJ could only go to one person, and that was Big Bruno, Andy Morris. I wouldn't say he was a DJ, but we were all too frightened to tell him not to put that music on, because although he was a gentle giant, he'd just give you a look and say it's going on whether you like it or not. And with Bruno, you just knew that he wasn't joking. He was putting that tune on, whatever tune he wanted on. So in the end, we just let Bruno look after the music. The worst taste in music, I'd probably have to say Sean Dyche. At the time, Daichi used to be into music that we'd never even heard of, like Oasis and everything like that. But looking back, it probably wasn't the worst taste in music, but we used to think it at the time. Daichi knew all the groups, he knew everything that he was on about with music, and he was so up to date on things. Like, he used to always sing a song, "Oh, sit down, sit down, sit down next to me." And yeah, I used to think, because I used to always like soft music and everything like that, but Daichi just loved his up-to-date music, which, to be fair, I was probably a long way behind the times at the time, so yeah, he probably had the worst taste in music. The fashion police would definitely have to go to my old mate Jed. Lovely lad, always liked a moustache, but his dress sense was left a lot to be desired. There's probably only one other who could contend with him, and that was probably Bring Gun, the bucket we used to call Bring Gun. But Bring Gun probably was probably better dressed than Jed, but Jed was always smart, but just not my taste in clothes. Fastest player. The fastest player would have to be Mark Jules. Julesy, I actually got him a move, as everybody keeps reminding me, and the team I used to play in. I remember dribbling the ball out of defence and I fell over it, and Julesy broke through and scored past the keeper. But now, I mean, I used to think I was quite quick, but Julesy was just phenomenal. His pace, his control on the ball, and that's why he spent a long time at Chesterfield, because he was quick, which John Duncan loved, and direct, and he'd scare the life out of defenders. I used to think I could live with him, but I'll have to give up to him now. Say, Julesy, you were faster than me if you ever watch this. The messiest, it would have to be, like, I saw Tony Lawners the other day, and I have to agree with him, we would be goalkeepers. I mean, goalkeepers dived around in all sorts of mud. The training was completely different to us. But the way Jed used to walk into the changing rooms and the way Mick Leonard used to walk into the changing rooms was hilarious. They were like covered in muck up to their eyeballs, and it was so funny to see. And all they wanted to really do was get in the bath. I mean, we'd had it tough out there as well, but the goalkeepers had to go through, diving through everything they had to go through. I would say, yeah, definitely goalkeepers, and I have to agree with you, Tony Lawnmower, on that one. By far the messiest people I've ever seen. Teacher's pet. That really is a great question. Don't think there's much pets, but if anybody you'd have on the team sheet before anybody, it would probably be Steve Williams, old George himself. George wasn't the most gifted of footballers, but what you got out of George and Steve Williams every week was 120, 130%. Never stopped running, would never give up, would never let you down. He played in quite a few different positions as well. I think he started off as a centre forward, but Chris McMenemy played him a lot more than what Paul Hart did. I think I'm right in that. But George, he was one of those who you knew once he crossed that white line, he was never going to let you down. He was never going to stop running. So I think, you know, the reason why Chris McMenemy really liked George was because he knew that he'd get 120% out of George, and that was the best thing about him. First to arrive. I'm not really sure who was the first to arrive. I think it was Lee Rogers back in them days. You know, because I just lived in Brampton, so to get to Saltergate wasn't hard at all. It was Jed used to come and pick me up in the mornings, or I used to pick him up, but Jed mostly picked me up. I'm sure probably first into training every day was probably Lee Rogers and Lee Turnbull, because they used to travel together from Doncaster. Like I say, great lads. Got very, very good fond memories of them, and miss them like mad. So yeah, I think it was Lee Rogers who was always first into training. Worst trainer, I would have said me, but there was probably one worse than me, and it was a fella called Dave Caldwell. He either pulled up with a hamstring or pulled up with a nosebleed. As you all know, he was always getting sent off. But when Caldy actually trained, he trained well, but he was unfortunate in the fact that he always got injured, and I don't know if it was when it came to the running or the games or whatever, but he always seemed to have problems with his hamstrings, and it was a shame for him, because you know he was a very, very good player, very good goal scorer, well loved by Chesterfield fans. But you know, I would have said myself really, because I wasn't the best footballer in the world, and when it came to five-a-sides, I was always the last pick. And you know, like Monday mornings in a gym over at Sheffield, it was really, really tough, because people had to pick me, but they really didn't want me on their side, because I was probably the worst footballer. I could head, I could tackle, I could sprint, but I wasn't the best footballer in the world. So when it came to five-a-sides, I was definitely last pick. So Caldy, I'm sorry if I've mentioned you, but you did get a lot of injuries. It was unfortunate, but what a player when you were on form. Last to arrive, without a shadow of a doubt, I don't even have to think about it, was Paul McGugan. Always turned up at the last minute. Whether it was a traffic driving from Huddersfield or M1 traffic or anything like that, Paul McGugan, unless he stayed at my house, which he stayed at my house a few times, he was always early. But Paul McGugan would walk in and everybody would be getting ready to go out, and Gugie would just get changed really quickly. Brilliant lad. Big influence on me, even though I didn't play many games. You know, he was recovering from a broken leg when he moved to us. But what a leader, what a strong man. And when he was on fire, Paul McGugan, you just wouldn't mess with him. But what a player, respect to him. Favourite memories, I'll never ever forget doing the double over the blades the first season I arrived. I arrived on the 15th of December 1988, and we played Sheffield United at Bramall Lane early January, I think it was, and we were like going there for lambs to the slaughter. They were top of the league, we were bottom of the league, but we hammered them. And when I say we hammered them, we absolutely battered them at Bramall Lane. And the good thing about it was, you know, two Didas, like as in Andy Morris and Bob Bloomer, also scored in the game, which I'm sure they were delighted about. So yeah, the two Sheffield United games of my first season were memorable. Obviously Wembley 1990 was very, very memorable. The Liverpool game in 1992, I'll never forget. It was probably one of the funniest moments of my life. Being 3-0 up at Anfield, I didn't know what to do, to be honest. So I went over to Cliff Carr and asked him to kick me, and he said, "What are you on about?" I said, "Cliff, just kick me, will you please?" And he kicked me, and I ran around Anfield thinking we're 3-0 up, and we were 3-0 up. But the most memorable game that always sticks out in my mind is when we got to Wembley. It was a Sunday morning kick-off against Stockport, and we won 4-0. And good old Calvin Plummer scored a marvellous hat-trick that day, and we won 4-0. And then we went to Edgeley Park on the Wednesday night, I think it was, and we won 2-0, so 6-0 aggregate. But I think by the Sunday we knew we were going to Wembley. So yeah, going to Wembley, it's a horrible place to lose. Nobody ever wants to lose at Wembley. But losing at Wembley was horrible, but the most memorable game will be that Sunday morning game against Stockport when we'd won 4-0. Paul Hart was trying to keep us all calm and everything like that, but we knew that we weren't going to go to Stockport and there was no way we were going to concede 4 goals. As it happens, we won 2-0. And I'd just like to say to you all, if you're wondering why I'm wearing a cap, this lockdown, I had to get my hair shaved, so I'm going to give you a brief glimpse of it. Look a little bit different. But I'd like to wish all Chesterfield fans out there a very, very happy next season. I've always kept in touch with Chesterfield. I always will do, keep in touch with Chesterfield. And I hope the Supporters Trust get what they want and take over the club from Dave Allen. From what I've read all about things, I know what you're going through. I know how good the fans were to me when I was playing for Chesterfield. But you Spireites, you diehards, you deserve everything that's coming to you. And I hope next season is going to be a brilliant season for you. Take it easy, all of you. Cheers. Thank you.